Mark, maybe why you just want to quickly, not everybody will know who, before we get going, but will know who you are and what you do. Quite a lot of people know you, but maybe you could just do a quick intro on yourself and NuWave, and then we'll get into some of the discussion.
Sure. I'm Mark Bunnell. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at NuWave, so I handle all the day-to-day operations of the global business and the architecture of our iPilot software platform. Our platform basically, we started off automating SIP trunks and porting and emergency services, and then it went to Teams, Zoom, and WebEx, and migrations and license management and integrations with our partners like, Dubber and Tollring and others, that are in the room as well. So I think at this point, with all the things that we do for operators and partners, we kind of consider ourselves evolved into a CX UX as a service for customizations.
And we sat down this time last year, and you spend a lot of your time talking to service providers globally and empowering them to often offer multiple platforms. What are the kind of trends you've seen in the last year that have, is there anything been kind of dramatic that's happening in terms of the overall trends that you've seen amongst that group as you go out around the world?
I think that as the programs have matured, we're starting to see a lot of operators that rushed into the different programs. They set up the APIs, they got set up and then basically sat there because they didn't have an experience to go with it. Yes, I can provision a few users and upload some numbers and those types of things, but it's really what the customers were demanding, that they needed some more solutions around that, analytics and all the other kind of components that come with that to do scale. And so what we've seen as a trend lately is that those direct connections and things are starting to migrate away from going direct, because they want to have a multi-UC approach. They don't want to just necessarily be with that one carrier. They care, operators care more about their voice, and so they want to be able to pivot their voice to any of the other solutions that may be out there.
So there's kind of two trends there you're talking about. One is an increased, and we were talking about it last year, but increased focus on having multi-vendors for multi-platforms for service providers is one thing. And is that increasing, or is it, so you're seeing people take that approach?
I definitely am seeing that across the board now. I think if you leave it up to the operator, they wouldn't necessarily choose that for themselves because they like the old days of BroadWorks and one system that's integrated, kind of perpetual licenses, set it and forget it, good margin. But their customers are kind of forcing them into a multi, UC approach because, you don't want to lose your voice, you don't want to lose that customer. And so you want to be able to, provide the other UC platform or the other services that their customers want. And
in line with that, the second point is service providers rush to do that, and not necessarily do the multi-platforms, but rush to deliver, Teams or Zoom or themselves, but didn't necessarily enable a rounded solution, or didn't enable them really then to offer others. So that's where you've seen your kind of market opportunity come in, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough visibility and control. If you're expecting a customer to go from an on-prem phone system to a cloud phone system, you still want them to have the same level of visibility and control over that cloud phone system as if it was on-prem. You wanted to give them the ability to provision their numbers and do self-service and maybe self-porting and things like that. Now, not everybody allows that to happen, but you want to have those choices available. You want to be able to say, I think we can all kind of agree at this point that most enterprises have already chosen a UC platform and they've already migrated. So then it becomes the mid-market and the SMB where there hasn't been a lot of adoption. And so, operators need to have the legacy PBX migration tools and being able to control that and get the report and the information out of their legacy systems, because most of those legacy systems, are not controlled by the person who actually set it up from the beginning. And so getting that data out to be able to make conversions and things like that to a UC system is pretty critical. And so most operators are saying, well, we don't necessarily have the time and the budget and the resources to keep building, tools and supporting all the changes that come out. And that's where somebody like us comes in and takes care of that.
So that's a kind of another interesting point about you're seeing a compression, is that the right word, of the ability, the capex, or the ability just to build this, maybe also as margins are squeezed, they're not in that old model of perpetual licensing where there was, a strong margin that you could you could build on a large base on. So you're seeing a pressure for carriers on their capex budgets, which is also driving this sort of change.
For sure. I mean, as you're seeing in the tech industry right now, there's rifts across the board, for operators, from OEMs, from pretty much everyone. And so budgets are constrained. The ability to, bring a dev project to bear and to be able to get across everything that you need to do can take an operator 6, 12, 18 months in a perfect scenario. And so maybe you choose one UC product and then the market changes and they want the other. And so then you're right back in that same cycle of having to deliver it 12, 18 months later, whereas, you need something where that work has already been done. Somebody's focused on all the different permutations that could be possible, and you just simply turn it on. So then you turn it on and then it's only about, productization and billing. But when those things are also built in, then it's something that you can just have immediately versus having to go do all the other things.
And you talked about the kind of value added piece as well. So it's the integration piece, like the slide we put up earlier about people wanting to integrate into analytics, wanting to integrate into those other pieces. So it's also about building. You're also, I guess, building that ecosystem, if that's the right word, of partners around it. That's pretty important to the provider as well.
100%, because it's I guess if you could coin a new term, it's marketplace 2.0, right? Marketplaces in the past were a tile, and it got information, and you pushed a button, and you sent an email to somebody, and they got back to you, and you went through a sales process. Marketplace for us means, I want it now. I want to provision it. I want to have it. It's inside of my system. I'm already tied to the billing systems and everything else that's within this, within the organization or the environment. And so you just turn these things on. You push a button. It configures it. It's very self-service. And then any kind of commissioning or agents and things like that happens is automatically going out. So from an agent channel or Salesforce perspective as well, time to revenue, time to consumption is instantaneous.
And I guess the elephant in the room, which we got to talk about, is AI. Mm-hmm. And that, I've been working with some very large service providers around the world. We were chatting about it, and one of them said, we want you to help us with our AI strategy, which is a small task. And they said, we've had 600 AI businesses, a national carrier, 600 AI businesses approach us, and we just don't know. We kind of don't know what good looks like. Because it's just coming at us like mad. How are you seeing that? What part is AI playing, maybe in your own product, and how are you seeing that broader problem?
Well, I don't think it's really been talked about a ton today. But when I was in London at the last Cavell, I was on a monetizing AI panel. Yeah. And in that panel, we asked the question, what's the number one thing on your mind with AI? And overwhelmingly, it was security.
Yeah.
Right. And so, especially when I hear and see other apps where they say, well, our data is just, across all of this. And so, okay, but what is the security around that? And so for us, we're obviously have to keep up, and we have to deliver AI products to, operators and things. But that starts with ISO 42001 first, right? And having that certificate to know and give your customers the confidence that any AI product that you put out can be consumed and trusted because it has AI from the beginning. And so that's our approach to it first. And then it's, deciding, where does AI play within the environment? And so, everybody talks about all the different things that AI can do, and it's true, but it's more consumer facing or end user that's punching the keyboard, kind of AI right now. And so then it becomes, are you using AI for your infrastructure? Are you using AI to make your product better? Because we integrate with, say, Dubber for call recording, and they have their own AI that's in their product. You have Tollring, who has their own AI that's in their product, or you're talking about contact center, right? Everybody has their own AI specific, and the only thing that we can do is provide AI that's specific to our product and making it better. And so getting, if we're using the buzzwords, right, getting the outcomes that you're looking for by just being able to talk to it and then have it do things. But the other piece that's really important about AI is not everyone is adopting AI at the same pace. And especially for operators, there's a lot of legacy customers. There's a lot of silos of places and companies that can't have AI. So then it's also the ability to turn it off and not have it be in somebody's environment and be able to, deal with legacy customers as well as early adopters. And you have to support all of those things, because you don't have a magic button that says, okay, now all of my customers are going to be AI. You're going to have all of these legacy customers that you have to support. You're going to have some in the middle, and then you're going to have full-blown, I'm taking everything that you give me AI, and it has to be secure. So having a platform that can do all of those different customer types is critical.
Yeah, and it's a big question carriers are asking me, which is how do I unlock network value? You know, is there network value? And it's probably around the security and sovereignty and speed and things. So you're being, are your carriers sort of up? So we've got, on one hand, I've got the product guys of carriers, and some of them are in the room saying, you know, should we deploy, you know, the applications AI, and what can we do with that? But then there's other strategy heavy thinkers in these carriers saying, whoa, wait a second, what could we do at a network level that will unlock value? And there's some logic to why they should, because, you know, in theory, they're very trusted, secure, potentially secure environment. They've got assets in terms of network and data center and things they could bring to bear. Are you getting those similar questions? Are they sort of coming to you as well?
I have those conversations every day. And different carriers have different approaches to that. But if you look at, you know, security again being the number one, and then you start talking about some of the, you know, where do you put AI? Do you put it at the core? I had this conversation with a carrier here, you know, last week. And if you put AI at the core to do analysis and you know, with call flows and things like that, or give it the ability to change, right, then you're putting AI across everyone, because it's at your core of your network. And so if you have companies or verticals that can't have AI in their network, you've just kind of blown that out of the water. And so then you have to say, well, if it can't be in the core, then is it an application? You know, where is it in the stack, right? And so those are some philosophical debates that, you know, carriers and operators are going to have to, you know, figure out how much or how little, and then how much am I disclosing to my, you know, financial or healthcare customers of where the AI actually sits.
Yeah, no, and you brought that. I remember we had a chat previously about this panel. I hadn't really thought about, you know, there'll be certain customers who cannot. And so if you put it in your core of your network capability, how do you deal with that government customer who says you cannot have that? And if it's in your core of everything, then you're kind of, you can't fill that sheet out that people love, corporates love, you know, your 20 sheets where you agree that you're not doing this, and this.
Well, it's going to be really interesting. We're going through our IRAP 2 certification here in Australia for government customers. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, through that process where they say that it can and can't be to have the security, you know, for those customers.
And so where are you going, so as we kind of wrap up a little bit, where do you see you going, and what are you bringing? You know, you're obviously a sponsor, so I'd love to hear what you're kind of bringing in the next 12 months. What should people expect to see from you? Where is your focus going to be? From NuWave for its customers, you know, how are you changing, or maybe just doing the same thing?
So we have a blend. So we do a lot of customer builds. So we get a lot of feedback from our customers of what they would like to see. So we're about a 50-50 of where, you know, that feedback and building those tools. I know that this last Friday we had a release, and so our first version of the Microsoft SMB onboarding is available, and so we'll be running that through its paces, and then the next version will be AI assisted, so that you can basically go through and create an SMB phone system, auto attendance, call queues, users, the whole thing, without having to know the Teams admin center at all. And so, you know, one of the big issues for SMBs is they may not know that, they may not want to do it, and so they're used to seeing, you know, some assistance come through that. And so, you know, we've just finished it, we built it, it's pretty awesome. You know, of course I'm biased, but you know, it works really well, and we're excited about that. But then the next versions of AI assistance and outcomes and those types of things will be, you know, in June. iPilot version 4 will come out, which will be all AI all the time for all of it, all voice initiated and things. And so you'll really start to see, you know, what the power of just being able to get things done without, you know, a bunch of clicks. But then again, you're also going to have to still, or we're going to have to still help the customers that want clicks and those types of things. So we have to dual develop, you know, as we move forward.
Yeah, but you'll see AI taking more of those automation tasks, even within your air products as well, I guess.
100%, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you very much for supporting the event, as usual. Really appreciate it, and thank you for your thoughts.